So a lot of people out there are advocates of a low-carb diet. And yeah, some people on low-carb diets can get some fat loss and things, and I just thought I'd show you somebody that is on a low-carb diet right now, just so you can see an example of how shredded you can get. Pancakes it is. So now that I've had those pancakes, I think it's pretty safe to say I can get a good back workout in. What I've done today is I decided just to go into the garage and do some bent over rows. So I'll do two variations, the underhand grip and the overhand. The thing is, I fully intended to train chest and biceps later on, but of course I took a nice nap at some point during the day, and it lasted a little longer than I thought, and I didn't go. So I guess those pancakes have slowed me down a little bit, but I sure feel good. Man, I tell you, they're good. I'll have to post a recipe on online one of these days, or show you a video of how I make them. I make them pretty low fat, and I use organic whole wheat flour and organic eggs and things, but they're a great way to carb up. So you might notice my my body's a little bit more filled out right now. Of course, I'm not as lean as I would like, but a little bit more filled out because of having more carbs in the morning, and sometimes I have been guilty to have a afternoon or evening pancake as well. So, but anyway, here I am with the bent over rows. I'm just, you know, usually I warm up pretty good, like I stretch the lats out and things, and I basically do a few sets of 135 or the bar just to make sure that my lower back is keeping the proper position. And you know, it's really important whenever you're doing any sort of lower back exercise or hip exercise to really go through the motions for a few sets, and sometimes I will, you know, so-called wear myself out. You know, some people do bent over rows, or they'll do squats or deadlifts and stuff, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do too many reps because I'll wear myself out. I won't be able to lift as heavy. But what I've found over the years is that you're better off getting a nice burn and getting a good blood flow in the area. That way there's some warmth going on. And you know, when you get the warmth in the muscle and you get the blood flow, then, you know, when you lift heavier, maybe you'll lose a rep or two, but at least you're warmed up, so the chance of injury is less. So I just moved up to 225 today. I'm not using any wrist wraps. I do like using wrist wraps from time to time, just because I find if you do, you know, 5 to 10 sets of bent over rows, you'll start to notice that around, you know, set number 5 or 6, your grip starts to give out before your back does. So at that point, I'll change to wrist wraps, but my car is parked out on the road, so I didn't want to travel to my car to get my wrist wraps. So I said, okay, screw it. I'll just get some good forearm work in today and go from there. Now you see, I'm not parallel to the floor with my back when I bend over row. I'm pulling up my legs, but I'm not bending right over, because I am getting a good lat pump from this. I find though, when you bend over too much, you're not necessarily getting the back, especially in the lat area that I'm trying to work with. I'm not getting the back as much. I don't feel the back as much. I start to use my rear delts more, and at the same time my lower back starts to take a lot of the stress, and it doesn't really give me any extra benefit for back growth. So that's why I don't bend over right to the floor. Okay. The other thing is that when I'm pulling the bar up, you know, some people are like, oh, you must touch your stomach or your belly button with the bar in order to get the benefit. But the truth is, the lats will pull your elbows back to a certain range, and then anything beyond that, you start to bring in the rear delt. And the rear delt is a much smaller muscle than the back. And if you try to make your rear delt the weak link in the movement, what will happen is you'll get some great developed rear delts, but you'll never be able to use the weight necessary in order to actually work the lats to full capacity. So that's why I don't pull all the way up. I don't pull, you know, right to the belly button or anything, because I find at that point I'm actually not even working my back. I'm working more my rear delts. So I find this is a nice blend. So I pull as high as I can, but I just really focusing in the squeeze in the lats and really pulling the shoulder blades back, because pulling the shoulder blades back is really what back does. You know, I'd say 60% of what back does, 60 to 70%, is really just pulling the shoulder blades back. You know, when you stick the chest out and you really squeeze those shoulder blades together. A lot of people think that when they train back, the higher the arms come, you know, the farther back you bring the elbows, that's automatically working back. And that's not true, because you could be rounding the upper back at the same time and getting a lot of shoulder development and bicep development, but not back development. So here I'm doing the reverse grip, and I have to say they do feel pretty good. It does feel much different than doing the overhand, so I do like to switch them back and forth, you know. always using the same type of grip and the same type of movement is not necessarily the best way for overall development. You want to always hit different angles, different ranges of motion, you know, so you'll really get a good feel for this, you know, and different people will bend over row just slightly different, so you have to find your own little groove here. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.